There was a devotee during the time of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta that did a lot of service for Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, but a lot of his godbrothers did not like him because they felt that he was using Srila Bhaktisiddhanta for his own purposes. And Srila Prabhupada also had commented about him, saying some things which were not, well, we could say, basically agreeing with the other godbrothers. And when this person died, Prabhupada said he went back to Godhead, and everybody was shocked because so many bad things were said about him. And I want to talk about that and explain why Prabhupada said he went back to Godhead, because it's extremely important. And it's kind of fascinating, actually. This devotee, Prabhupada wanted to work with before he went to America. He said, I will join your mission and then you can sponsor me to go to America. And he said, no, you just work with our mission and maybe we'll sponsor you. And then when Prabhupada was successful, of course, he was not sponsored by him. This person was taking credit and say, well, it's because of us that Prabhupada was successful. So Prabhupada was noting this, that this is, of course, this is off. We'll just say off. And Prabhupada made some other statements, how he was also, as other godbrothers noticed, taking advantage of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta. He acquired certain properties in the Gaudiya Math. He had a mind to acquire them, etc., etc. So when Prabhupada was given the notice that he had left his body, Prabhupada said he had gone back to Godhead, and everybody was shocked. And they said, Srila Prabhupada, how is it that despite all the things that were said, all the bad things that were said about him, it sounded like he was offending his guru. How is it that he went back to Godhead? So there's a little backstory here that Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, of course, had been, as you may know the story, preparing for his mission, and he spent, I think, 10 years chanting constantly. It was this person who actually managed the whole thing, who you could say made him successful. Of course, he's successful in his own right, but on the practical level, this person did everything. And he was actually taking money. And the disciples were telling Srila Bhaktisiddhanta that he's taking money. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta said, yes, but he's doing amazing service. And if I had to pay someone to do this service, it would even be more expensive. So he was accepting the service of this person, even though brahmacharis and sannyasis were not paid for their service. That's against the principle generally. But this person was just taking money. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta knew, and he allowed it. He appreciated his service in spite of his ulterior motives to eventually take the certain properties of Gaudiya Math for himself. In fact, he took that money from Gaudiya Math and he educated his son to become a lawyer in anticipation that he would need a lawyer when he wanted to get the properties of the Gaudiya Math. So this just gives you an idea. So when they asked Prabhupada, how is it that you said he went back to God? And he said, because Srila Bhaktisiddhanta accepted his service. So that's a very important point. So you may be whoever you are, whatever you are. If Srila Prabhupada accepts your service, that's your perfection. If your spiritual master accepts your service, that's your perfection. If your Siksha gurus accept your service, if the senior Vaishnavas accept your service, if somebody accepts your service, some Vaishnava accepts your service, that's your perfection. And so we see in Prabhupada's life how careful he was to accept everyone's service, no matter what they did. And sometimes we did some pretty bad things. And Prabhupada, once we apologized and rectified, Prabhupada would give us service and go on. So he knew how important it was for him to accept our service. And if he accepted our service, then Krishna would accept our service. And in that way, we would become purified. And so often Prabhupada said, you do this, you'll go back to Godhead, or you do this service, I'll take you back to Godhead, or Lord Chaitanya, Bhaktivinoda Thakur will come if you do this service. And we're all thinking, well, I'm not very Krishna conscious. How is it that I would go back to Godhead? But if Prabhupada accepts your service, Krishna accepts it, then everything is perfect. So this is especially nice for some of us who sometimes become discouraged. Oh, I'm not doing very much. But it doesn't matter. If Prabhupada accepts your service, that's it. Now, one last thing I want to say, which is beautiful. On this point where we think, well, I'm not really doing much service, or my service is insignificant. Now, Prabhupada said, everyone's service is insignificant when you compare it to what Krishna can do. Then what we can do is not much, right? Oh, my service is so insignificant, I can hardly do anything. If you have made 1,000 planets Krishna conscious, still that would be insignificant in compared to what Krishna can do. So it's so relative between a minuscule service and a big service, and a minuscule devotee and a big devotee. In Krishna's eyes, he just doesn't see it that way, because for him, it's all, it's not like any great thing. So Prabhupada said, of course, it doesn't mean, okay, well, if that's the case, then, it doesn't matter if I just distribute 1 book today or 100 books. Well, that's 100 people that would have benefited, so it does matter. And that obviously does please Prabhupada. But Prabhupada said the main thing was the devotee's sincerity. He said that's what Krishna sees. It's your, how much sincerity do you have, not how many results do you have. Of course, we like to get results because it just benefits more and more people. We want to bring everyone back to Krishna. There's no doubt about that. So I don't want to minimize that. But not everybody can produce great service, but everybody can be sincere, and sincerity is within our own grasp. So if we manifest sincerity, then Prabhupada said, that's what Krishna is pleased with, a devotee's sincerity. What do you buy the man who has everything? You offer something, but you offer it with love, then he's pleased. So that's the idea. So I think that's very, very important for many of us who feel like, I'm not doing anything. Maybe in this life, you won't do a lot. You won't do as much as you want. That's possible. Maybe you'll do more than you thought you could do. That also could happen. But in either case, that is not the test of how much we're pleasing Krishna, but the sincerity of our devotion. That's the test. And we can all be sincere despite all our faults and whatever we think is bad about ourselves and all our lack of ability to do big service and be a big devotee and whatever. From Krishna's point of view, the big devotee is the sincere devotee, and you can manifest sincerity. There's no question about it. You have the power to manifest sincerity. You do, I promise.